Before we get started, anyone interested in ordering Mr. Lindell's 4-CD set, go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. For those in the U.S., you can order physical copies or the digital downloads. For those outside the U.S., you can order the digital downloads by going to metaphysicalarttheater.com.
How you doing, sir?
Oh, just fine. And you?
I'm doing great.
I thought so.
Hey, so today I want to talk about the work. And what I mean by that, everybody's in their mind, but nobody wants to do the physical work of making manifestation possible. We just want to occupy our mind, but we don't have the lifestyle that follows. But I often say that, lifestyle always follows beliefs. What are your thoughts?
Hey, very simple. You want to keep going the way you're going, keep thinking the way you're thinking. You want change, you change it, and then you change everything. It's as simple as that. If you keep it simple, you probably remember it. And if you remember it, oh, wow, you might even use it. But that really, as you think you are, I mean, that's scripture, isn't it?
It is. I like that you said that. As simple as that is, you said, as you think you are. Now, the R is where people are having challenges because, of course, they listen to a talk by Neville, and Neville may say something to the effect, once you start thinking it, don't lift a finger. So they say, well, now I don't have to do anything, and all my manifestations come true.
And the less you do, the better off you are.
Now, what does that mean? Because still, I'm trying to get clarity here for these people to think that they don't have to do anything because lifestyle has to follow. So when you say the less you do, so for example, you go to the store, you decide that you want to go to the store and you have a list of things. Now, do you just go to the store and sit outside the car and wait on those things to come to you? Or is there actions that have to follow to get those things that you said on your list?
Yeah, but now they will bring it to the car.
That's true. Okay, but what I guess
what you meant.
I'm trying to get them to connect physical reality with spiritual reality. I think that many people just want to stay in the spiritual and don't want to do anything on the physical. And they're wondering why manifestation isn't taking place.
Well, very simple is that you're not standing your ground.
Yeah.
We were told to stand and see the victory. So if you're standing and waiting for the victory, it's right with you right now, but you have to claim it.
Okay.
See, like I said, Emmett Fox wrote a whole book on claim it.
Okay.
And it says exactly what we've been telling them to do. And like, well, I'm telling you what Neville said to do because that's where I got it.
Yeah.
So why not do it? Yeah. It says do a thing.
Thank you.
A thing. Mm-hmm. If you can't come up with a thing, well, you're pretty bad shape for sure. But anyway, it says do a thing and you shall have the power, right? That's the power, not some power, but the power. So that's what you're operating. And why is it that you're operating it? Because I'm with you always. I will never leave you. Omnipresence. I'm right here. Just turn to me. I'll turn to you. It's all nice there. Look, it all depends on how wholehearted you are about what you're thinking, feelingly about.
Okay.
I mean, halfway, well, you might get a few things that you want in the meantime, because that's what encouraged me. Mm-hmm. I did get some minor things right away, but standing your ground for quite a while takes a bit of discipline.
Yeah.
And really, once you start disciplining yourself and start seeing the benefits from doing so, believe me, you'll be encouraged. You won't need us.
I appreciate that you're talking about, disciplining and standing your ground, because of course, we have to persevere in that thing that we say that we want, So of course, in standing your ground. And I also like that you brought it back. You said, do a thing. Now, we start off with thinking about that thing, but ultimately we have to do a thing, So whatever that looks like, I can say I want a job, want a job, want a job, want a job, and I can imagine having a job, but eventually I got to go out and get a job, And so most people want to occupy the space of just thinking about a job, but not being about the job.
Yeah, but you see, you said that right there. They're thinking about.
Yeah.
See, and it tells you, first off, that you're praying all the time. So what you're thinking about is what you're praying about. So if it isn't something you want to experience, I'll tell you, back off real quick, because it doesn't take long. Well, look, if you take an idea and it's a negative idea, and if you hold it for even a moment, it starts drawing to it. But it's the same with the spiritual idea of better than the best. If that's what you're thinking, you're drawing those ideas to you. As within, so without.
Absolutely.
That's what it says it all, doesn't it?
It does say it all, because the within, of course, is always the origin, but of course, the without is going to reflect the within. You said something earlier. You said, do a thing and you shall have the power. And of course, we understand that power we call God. And we're given all power to do the thing, whatever the thing is that we want to do. We have within us the power to carry out that thing that we desire to do.
That's it. They're constantly thinking about what was.
Yeah.
And that's where they live, in what was. You have to change your thinking feelingly. And when I say feelingly, you see, because that's what subconscious reacts to. How you feel about yourself. That's the reaction now that you're going to keep getting until you change your mind, change your world. And doing first, change your mind does change your world. But you have to stay on track, though. You see, if you forget it, then it kind of just dissipates. You call it whatever you want, but when you stop thinking positive, then you're going to be thinking negative, because you're thinking all the time. So if you're not choosing what you're thinking, man, that being lost in thought, as I said before, it can be anything from uncomfortable to disastrous in a moment. See, what has your attention has your life. Really, really sit down and think about just that statement. What has your attention has your life. Is that what you want to have your life? Because it will. And I mean, believe me, it's as you think you are. You can't get around that one. I don't care what it is you think about. You can't get around that, because that's what you're experiencing every day, what you think. And you are thinking, and you're on all the time. People don't understand is you're on all the time. Hello.
I want to touch briefly on what you just said. You said what you think is what you're experiencing. And that's the point that I want to bring about, the experiencing. I call it the work. We can call it whatever, but thinking always produces the experience. It says God is spirit, but of course, God shows up in our lives as manifestation. And you say you can look all around your room, and everything in your room started off as a thought.
As a thought, as you think you are.
Yeah.
All we can do is just keep repeating that until it clicks. Listen, I heard it hundreds of times before I actually took the time to sit in silence and think about what was being said, because the bullets, it just kind of bounces off of you when you hear it just a few times. But after a while, you see, each time you hear it, it builds.
Yeah.
And it'll get to a certain point to where you're going, oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. Why didn't I think of that before? Because you never shut up before. That's the reason why. And that's what you're supposed to do. Be still. It didn't say be quiet. It said be still, like frozen. Be still and know that I'm God. Right here with you. Never leave you. Never going to forsake you. What are you worried about? You see, you spend your time worrying, where if you spent that same time devoted to sitting in the silence and just going over what we're talking about, you'd see the difference right away. I mean, that it'll almost happen over. Well, actually, with me, it did. The first one did happen overnight, and it was just awesome. But to repeat it, you see, that was a struggle. See, I thought, oh, what did I do? How did I do? What did I do? What was it? Nah, it doesn't seem to come back at all. In fact, you'll forget it probably maybe for weeks, and then something will be said. It may not be anything religious or anything, but something will be said, and you'll go, yeah, yeah, that's it. And it just seems like, wow, it popped in out of nowhere. But actually, it's all revelation. You don't figure it out. And if you sit in the silence, it'll come to you. It really, well, it'll come through you, but you'll recognize it maybe for the first time in your life. And when I had a revelation, that was the first time in my life that I actually recognized what was being said. And it will happen. No, I remember Neville telling me that's what you're looking for. I mean, well, I don't know what you call it, but whatever you call it, that's what you're looking for. The how of desired change. Look, there's always going to be change. That's what this is, a world of ideas, attitudes, and change. And you either change or you go with the rest of it. And it all goes away. I mean, all of it just goes away. What's going to, nothing. I mean, a 5,000-year-old tree in Japan, it went away. What kept it up for 5,000 years? No, it's the same thing with everything. You go through childhood, then you go through a kind of maturity, and then you're tempted with maturity on down the line. But do you actually move in and begin to think from the mature ideas? See, that's what what you're looking for is looking for you. Think of that. When you think things, when you're thinking a certain thing, just think of what I'm looking for is looking for me. Do I want to be found? Well, not by that idea. Well, then change it immediately. See, yeah, immediately. Really, this is serious. We're sitting here smiling and I can see you smiling there. See, but it's really serious, because if you're thinking negative, you're piling it up. See, it's like you can become a hoarder of negative thoughts, and if you do, you won't have an enjoyable life, because it states very clearly, as a man thinketh in his heart, which is his feeling nature. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What do you want to be? So is he. I don't. Did it come out clear?
It did, and I actually wanted to touch on that. We talk about feeling nature, and so is he, so does she, so has she. So whatever that thing that we're pontificating, giving our attention to, thinking about, it's going to be outpictured in our reality. So of course, decide, as Mr. Lindell just stated, What is it that you want? But I want to touch on something because somebody had asked about the promise recently, and you were talking about when revelation came to you. When it comes, people want to force the promise, but Jesus said, the Spirit flows. Speaking to Nicodemus, he said the Spirit goes to where it wants. And Neville said when he first experienced the first aspect or the first stage of the promise, he didn't even know that it was coming. And I'll say likewise, I had no clue that I was experiencing the promise when it first started happening. It wasn't something that I sat there and I thought hard enough about and said, well, promise happened, promise, 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 promise. And the promise, I didn't even, matter of fact, I had wrote the promise off as Neville's experience and not my own until I manifested the promise. What was your experience?
That that you just said it. That was exactly it. I heard it and I was, wow. But then I was thinking of, and you know what happens? You start trying to take it apart. See, and then the confusion sets in and the doubt sets in and poof, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's just gone. Where did it go? Where did it go? Not where did it go? Where did you go? See, that's man's problem. Well, what were you left? What did God leave you? He left you a remembrancer. You see, because you forgot who you are.
Yeah.
And that was a purpose. You did that purposely so that you could allow whatsoever to choose from.
Yeah.
And not be guilty of causing the problem. You see, he protected himself very well, but not by our comments that we don't understand actually what is happening. It is yourself pushed out. That's your world. And it is secondhand because it was only new as a thought. I mean, everything around you was once only a thought in someone's mind. Maybe they didn't produce it, somebody else produced it, but that was their thing. And you're doing your thing. What we're asking you is, are you choosing your thing you're doing? See, that's the question, isn't it?
It is the question. It is the question. And so often we're not, but go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, you look like you had a thought coming out there. And I said, oh, I think I just stopped that. So I apologize if I stopped the train of thought. But I love that you said something. You know what? I'll say this in listening. It clicked when you said, you said it's only new as ideal, but everything on the without is secondhand. And it really resonated today. I've heard that probably 50, 100 times, but today it resonated. And it goes to what we've been talking about forever. And everything starts conceptualized in Mary, the womb of mine, as a thought. It's birth as Jesus, as ideal. So now when it shows up in the world, that's the second hand. But it was first imagined. And that's your whole point. It's always new as ideal because the ideal is the conception, the manifestation or the outpicturing of the books. You got because I know you have hundreds of books around you. I have hundreds of books around me. Now, all of those books, all these trinkets, the computer, the lights, everything started off first and foremost as an ideal.
Absolutely. Where else could it come from?
Yeah.
It had to be an ideal in someone's mind.
Yeah.
And and they're thinking about it all the time. I mean, there's thousands of new implements all the time. I mean, tools. My wife has more gardening tools, every time a new one comes out. But it's okay. She does it. I like that. But it all comes down to a very simple point, and that is that as you think, you're thinking all the time, and thinking in scripture is called praying. And you're praying ceaselessly. And are you aware you're praying ceaselessly? Because every word must be accounted for in your praying. Every word. So, in other words, if you're doing this in your life, up and down, up and down, up and down, well, that's because you're shifting your mind around all the time. I mean, in a day's time, you can shift how many times do you think someone could shift their mind around in a day? Infinite. Yeah.
Infinite.
And so that's your problem. You have to become a single mind. That doesn't mean you don't take care of your responsibilities or nothing like that, but you have to become a single-minded, because that's how you're standing to see the victory. As long as you're tuned in to the idea, I am that, because that's all there is in the world happening at this very moment. Everybody is saying I am something because everybody is I am. But what are you doing? What did you say just before? You're doing.
Yeah.
You're doing it all yourself so you can correct any problem that you're having, if you'll do so. You say, I'm not telling you, I always do so. I get caught up just like everybody in the drama, man. But the difference is I get back quicker.
Yeah.
See, that's the only advantage I have from 40 years of doing it, is I get back quicker. It still happens to me because as long as you have this body, it's demanding upon you moment by moment. So you have to deal with that. But you can in mind, in imagination, in the theater of mind, see yourself doing, being, and having your ideal. Not what other people are doing, but what you're doing. See, that's what you're experiencing. What they're doing is what they're experiencing. And that's why we're talking to you, is to get you experiencing on the right level. Isn't it?
Absolutely. I love that you're talking about thinking, doing, experiencing. So you said, listen, whatever you're thinking, ultimately, that's what you're going to be doing. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, simply change the thinking. As simple as that is, many people think that they can think one thing and live another way. But ultimately, we live whatever it is that we're thinking.
That's it. There is no other thinking.
Yeah.
See, thinking outside of you is somebody else's idea. And you're not bound in any way to accept somebody else's idea. But that's what I'm saying, is that it's so easy to wind up bonding with an idea, accepting an idea, even when upon hearing it, it didn't really ring true to you, but still you like the person that had that idea. So you kind of like the idea, but you see, it'll just hang in there for however long. And when a situation comes up, then it'll operate itself, because that's what mindsets do. Your mindsets are set mindsets. So you set that in motion. That's what you're being told. And it'll operate anytime a situation comes around that requires something in that nature. It's there. It doesn't say, hey, look, you want, no, it doesn't bother you at all. Just it operates. And that's what people say. I don't know how things happen. Well, get with it, boy. You're the ones making it happen. I always refer to Pogo because, when I read that for the first time, that hit me so hard. That it really did. It went bing, right? Just like that. I went, wow, he said it.
Do me a favor, quote, because there may be somebody that hasn't heard us talk about this. Say the quote so that they will hear, the quote of Pogo.
Oh, I have found the enemy, and I am he. Yeah. See, he's telling you that what he thinks, that's what he is. And I'm telling you that what you think, that's what you is. I mean, that's the statement, isn't it?
It is a statement.
I mean, you are as you think you are. If you want different, you think different, and then you experience different. And someone says, well, how long does it take? And how wholehearted are you? That's the answer. That you want a time frame? There it is. When you become wholehearted about what you're thinking about, then you're experiencing it.
And I want to add this about thinking. Sometimes you have to challenge, is the word I want to use. You have to challenge those beliefs that are not taking you where you want to be. And I just give a quick example. I was talking to my granddaughter the other day, and we were talking about she wanted something that she wanted to purchase. And I said, listen, and of course she came to me and I said, listen, I'm not going to pay for it myself. I said, but I will contribute. I said, but what I want you to do is go to your parents, go to your grandmother, go to your other grandparents, and ask them to contribute. And she did that, and she was able to get the money. And so after we started talking about it later on, she says, it's embarrassing to ask for money. Now, I thought about that phrase about being embarrassed to ask for money. And I thought to myself how society has programmed us not to ask for money, the money that we may have earned because we provided a service or whatever. But we say, well, I'm not going to make a fuss about it. I'm not going to, even if you're at the store and you know that they give you the wrong amount of change, some people know that they've received the wrong amount of change and they'll walk outside that store frustrated, like that person gave me the wrong amount of change, as opposed to saying, listen, no, you should have given me 20 as opposed to giving me 10. And literally people will leave because of that fear of asking for money.
Yeah. All of your mindsets, they are actually your guide through life.
Yeah.
Because they act automatically, you see. And actually it's all on automatic.
It is.
I mean, think about it. It's all on automatic. You do this, this, and this happens. It's just like your car. You turn the key, it starts the motor. Put it in gear, you go. It's the same with your mind. You're working your mind the same way.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what you're doing, and then you're doing it. And whatever you're doing, you've already thought about it. And do you remember what you thought about that caused you to do this? Yeah, I don't most of the time, tell you the truth, but it comes to me pretty soon.
Yeah. You brought up a good point, and that's true. Most of us don't even remember the thought that set an activity into motion, and then they come back and what you often say, why me, why this, why now? And we fail to recognize that thought that we thought, watching a movie or a conversation we had with someone, and now that thought has given harvest in our life, and we say, where did that come from?
Yeah. How did this happen? I mean, what did I do to deserve this?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I can tell you this. I hope I never get what I deserve.
Well, thank God.
Thank God. We love him because he first loved us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Grace. Yeah.
But no, I'm the last one to call down judgment on anybody because, you see somebody go and spit and you say, oh, look at that. And then 20 minutes later, you're going.
Same thing. Yeah.
You can justify anything if you want to.
It's true.
And self-justification is the voice of hell.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard Neville say that several times. And I thought about that. And actually, it's true. Yeah. It really is. Self-justification, trying to justify yourself means that you're wrong.
Yeah. And it locks you in, whatever the thing that you're justifying, it locks you into that state. When you justify it, there's no pathway out because, of course, you've solidified, as you stated earlier, you've made a mindset.
Mindset, right. Absolutely. Perfect. That's exactly what you've done. But you see, here's the beautiful thing about it. You can change them. Actually, no, you can change them. Your mindsets, because they're running your life. You can change them. Actually, you are changing them.
Yeah.
But are you aware of the changes that you're making? Are they good? Are they negative? You know, you're told very plainly, think only on things that are lovely and of good report. And then later you're told, as you think you are. So right there, you've got a prescription for health, wealth, welfare, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was given to you right off. Choose this day. That's it. If you're choosing the day, well, we're assuming that if you're choosing it, you're choosing what you want, not what you don't want. But that's not really the case. Most people aren't choosing what they want because they're worrying over what they don't want.
Yeah.
And what has your attention has your life, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that you told them, you said, listen, you can change your mindset. And the wonderful thing, even in listening to this program, if in listening to this talk, you take away a new idea.
yeah,
In
that's
the
all.
process, yeah, you're in the process of changing that mindset.
You know, we give them 20 different ideas.
Yeah.
You know, all of them are helpful, but which one do you choose? That's the one. Follow through.
Yeah.
Look, you were given the theater of mind to imagine what you're visioning because every vision has its appointed hour. Well, what are you envisioning? What are you seeing in your theater of your mind?